Doomsday's comic book origin is fucking insane. For those of you who don't know, Doomsday is one of the few creatures ever to beat Superman to death. And just to, give you a visual cue of what this motherfucker looks like, it's a little something like this, kind of like if the Hulk and a dragon had a hate baby. So let me tell you how this motherfucker came to be. Before the humanoid Kryptonians took over the planet, Krypton was more of a hellscape. Everything on the planet both wanted to and could kill you. A scientist arrived on this planet with a basically human infant, and he took the baby, opened the door, and threw the baby onto the fucking planet, where it almost instantaneously died. The scientist then went out, collected the baby's remains, and cloned the baby, and gave it all the same genetic memory as the first baby. Essentially, he was forcing evolution. Rinse and repeat. For a good few decades, until it was strong enough to kill the scientist, and pretty much anything else he put in his way, including Superman.
And yet nothing happens, but yet a normal person punches him and he's like, oh! Why?
Alright, so check this out. To sum up the original video, he's asking why Superman can get shot with 1,000 different things and not be affected at all, but if somebody punches him, he immediately gives way and goes, ah, what? For an example, I point you to Luke Cage, or Spider-Man. He gives way so that that person doesn't break their fucking hand. You gotta remember, Superman's the consistency of like a marble statue. He just looks like a dude. So most villains, when they're fighting him, they don't look at him and go, that's a marble statue that looks like a dude. They think, that's a dude. I'ma hit that dude. And if Superman doesn't give, if he doesn't give way with his face as the person punches him, then it's gonna be the exact same result as if that person punched a solid object with the entirety of their force. They will break every bone in their hand, their forearm, everything. Luke Cage had a scene that showed what happens when someone like that doesn't give. It's not pretty. Hope that helps.
What is up with the Kryptonians' weakness for magic?
Okay, so a few things. Kryptonians kind of have a weakness to magic. It's less a weakness and more they're more susceptible to it. And the way that I interpret it is, the explanation for Superman's powers is purely pseudoscience. He flies because Earth's gravity is weaker. He's stronger because he gets his nourishment from yellow sunlight, which makes him stronger. All of those are simply just biological reactions to physical stimuli. But magic is inherently otherworldly. It's not a physical stimuli that would change depending on what planet you're on. It is a completely extra-dimensional, otherworldly force interacting with you. And since magic is going to interact with all organic beings the same way, Kryptonians end up being just as susceptible as humans are, apart from the parts of magic that are already protected by Kryptonian powers. Using a spell to burst Superman into flames isn't going to affect Superman that much because it's just fire. But hitting him with pure magic? Different story.
Wait, like really though?
No, hold up. I despise what the early Batman movies and a lot of outside Batman media has done to the perception of Bane. Bane is not a big dumb brute. Bane is Batman with a drug habit. Let me tell you how smart this motherfucker is. This motherfucker did the one thing that no other comics character has ever done. They found out that Batman is Bruce Wayne by looking at his jawline. I know that doesn't sound like much, but think about all of the characters that have seen Batman and Bruce Wayne close up and haven't made that connection. Hell, think of all the characters that have seen both Batman and Bruce Wayne naked and haven't made that connection. In Nightfall, Bane was just smart enough to concoct a plan that involved releasing certain prisoners at certain times so that Batman would be just tired enough and just exhausted enough at the end of the night that when Bane fought him, it would still be a fair fight, but he knew he would win. Like, Bane is a genius. He just so happens to be built like an ox and drinks steroids for breakfast.
So I saw the Snyder Cut. I have some thoughts. Let's see if we can fit it in a minute. So first off, overall, it's a great superhero movie. It's a really fucking solid superhero movie. Honestly, it's not the second coming of fucking Christ, but I mean, it's a really, really solid superhero movie. I honestly really appreciated the fact that they removed all the shots that overly sexualized the shit out of Wonder Woman. The more attention paid to Cyborg made everything so much better. Honestly, I only have a few gripes, and if you follow my Twitter, you probably heard some of them already. Not so subtle tag, follow me if you're not already. My first big thing is that they want you to be scared of Darkseid, which is good. But within the first 5 minutes of meeting him, he's taken out by a villain of a movie that we've already seen be beaten. He was damn near chopped in half by Ares, who we already saw got beat by Wonder Woman. You need when Darkseid attacks is Wonder Woman showing up to kick his ass. Also, the whole epilogue rubbed me just the wrong way. Just still don't like Jared Leto Joker even a little bit. Also, the Bat Tank was literally there as just a cameo, and it took out 4 dudes. What, 4 fucking dudes, really? Also, the whole scene at the end where Superman reveals his S from under his suit, it being the black suit made that kind of not hit as hard. Didn't have that same punch in the nostalgia. Very nitpicky, I know. Overall, though, it's pretty good. I liked it.
Alright, so I know that Jason's revival can be a little bit confusing, so let's go over it real quick. So in all versions of Jason's revival, he is eventually submerged in the Lazarus Pit. However, there's two main versions. The first one is his Superboy Prime revival. Basically, in the Infinite Crisis event, Superboy Prime got so mad that he punched the universe so hard that the timeline shattered. As a result of this, a lot of fucky things happened. One of those fucky things being Jason Todd being brought back to life. This is my favorite version, where he wakes up in his casket and digs himself out of the grave. But because he was dead for like 5 fucking years, he's got a little bit of brain damage. Talia al Ghul finds him, submerges him in the Lazarus Pit. Jason finds out about Bruce. Under the Red Hood happened. His second revival is the one that was introduced in the Under the Red Hood movie. In that version, Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul just straight up took Jason's body and tried to revive him. They wanted to revive Batman's son as like a token of goodwill. It didn't turn out too good. He comes back crazy, and then Under the Red Hood happens. This is the current version, and while it's a little bit cleaner, I don't think it's as fun. Jason digging himself out of his own grave is just a really good shot to me, and I like it. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Let's talk about this because kind of. So that is a story that did happen, but to my knowledge, it was only in the Injustice storyline, which, while very close, is not actually canon to the main DC storyline. In that story, Harley reveals to Black Canary that she had a daughter with the Joker, but she was too scared for what the Joker would do to her, so she gave it to her sister and acts as her aunt. I'm honestly not sure if they ever brought that into canon, and if they did, they don't focus on it very much. If they did bring it into canon, honestly, I wouldn't be that mad. I just really wouldn't look forward to the inevitable event comic that would come from it. I can see it now. They'd call it something like Clown Royalty. The Clown Princess of Crime is finally revealed. It'd be like 30 fucking parts and tie into every single Bat Family comic. But yeah, that's a thing that did happen. It's just not in the main storyline. It's an Elseworld story. It's self-contained. This is your trigger warning. Right now, I'm going to be talking about abuse in this one. Also, no hate on this person at all. God damn it. There are a few examples. We could start with just all the times he kicked the living shit out of her. Sometimes, bad enough to put her in the fucking hospital with not even an apology. There was this time where, in an attempt to just straight up kill her, he threw her into a rocket and shot her off into God knows where. Oh, but don't worry, Mr. J's not a one-trick pony. There's this time where he gaslit her into thinking that she was not the only Harley, but that he kills every single one of his Harleys. Oh yeah, and he just chained her up in this cave and then just fucking left her there with all the bodies. On top of that, her entire origin story is him abusing her, manipulating her into thinking that not only is he the good guy, but that she should become like him. The story of Harley Quinn and the Joker is a story of enduring and overcoming abuse. The love there is only one-sided. The Joker sees Harley as an object and nothing more. Welcome back to Panda Hates the New 52. Let's talk about this. So, in Harley's initial origin, yes, she went after supervillains for the glamour of it, but that's not the point. It was the story of a good person, if yes, a little arrogant, who wanted to do good in the world, being slowly turned away from the light by someone who was manipulating her. She had never shown any psychopathic tendencies until meeting the Joker, which even then was an initial bout of him manipulating her. When she first met him, he sent a single rose to her office, trying to entice her into working with him, in which he knew he was going to manipulate her into believing that he was a better person than he actually is. He then slowly convinced her that he was just an underdog. He was trying to make the world laugh, and Batman had targeted him for it. And then, the New 52 happened. And they introduced the fact that when she was a child, she would burn the corpses of dead animals. And she found the murder of one of her classmates romantic. The New 52 tried to downplay the Joker's role in her psychological downfall, to make it seem like it was inevitable that one day she'd become a supervillain on her own. Sadly, it ends up downplaying what the original story was trying to say. So I'm sorry, but no, the Joker did brainwash Harley.
Is Clark clumsy on purpose?
Technically. So here's the thing. Every superhero that has a secret identity technically has 3 identities. There's the superhero, the secret identity, and the real identity. So like, take Batman for instance. There's Batman, the dark and brooding creature of the night. There's Brucey Wayne, the playboy billionaire that's shown off to the public. And then there's the real Bruce Wayne, who's the dark and brooding loner who surrounds himself with a giant found family. Clark is kind of the same way. However, his real identity and his secret identity are way closer together than most superheroes, with the exception of maybe like Spider-Man. For the most part, the Clark Kent of the Daily Bugle is the Clark Kent that he is at home. But like I said before, Superman, just to not break everything around him, has incredible muscle control. So physically, yeah, whenever he's clumsy, he's doing that shit on purpose. But mentally, Clark Kent is always a dorky farm boy. He stumbles over his words in his best attempt to be polite to people, because he's just a nice guy, that's who he is. So honestly, kind of yes and no. He's physically clumsy on purpose to throw people off the scent that he's the godlike Superman, but what comes out of his mouth, that's Clark Kent.
Alright, so it's a lot easier to respond to this comment with a video than to just keep replying through comments. Let's get into this. In the CW show Supergirl, the character of Dreamer is portrayed as a trans woman. And before she was introduced, it was very heavily marketed that she was going to be the first trans superhero on TV. Which is awesome, that's a super important landmark to make. But that's the thing, she's the first trans superhero on TV. The adaptation is trans, the comic version is not. In the comics, the character of Dreamer, Dreamer Girl, Dream Girl is still a cis woman. From the sounds of it, it sounds like they plan to adapt the Supergirl version into the comics in some way, which is gonna be awesome, I can't wait for that. But to my knowledge, currently the change is yet to be made, or Dreamer is going to be adapted into the Arrowverse comics specifically. They even slightly shifted the names a little bit for the comics and the adaptation, and not even just the superhero name being in the comics Dreamer Girl or Dream Girl, and in the TV show being Dreamer, but also in the actual names being Neuronal in the comics and Neonal in the Supergirl TV show. I hope that clears up some of the confusion, and if they've made the change in the comics already, please let me know in the comments. I really want to know. I think it's awesome. Afternoon, everybody. Let's talk about the best event that ever happened in all of DC Comics history, the New 52. You see, when the New 52 originally started, they wanted to get rid of all of the comics history that existed before that so that new readers had an easier point to jump onto. They based it off of Marvel Comics' run The Ultimates that ended in one of the coolest events ever, Ultimatum. They also decided that they weren't going to send any internal memos for any of the creators so that every single creator would have complete creative freedom. The event allowed everybody's favorite characters to be bolstered while cutting out all the ones that nobody really cared about. And for all of those flagship characters that ended up being bolstered, their entire creative histories were picked through for only the best stories, no matter if they fit together or not. They also did everybody a giant service and took cult favorite characters and made them a little bit more mainstream, such as making Booster Gold a little bit darker for the new age, and revamping tired characters that were a result of the time that they were made, such as Lobo. So while controversial at the time, I would suggest that you check out the New 52.
They'd be willing to stitch this or duet this and tell me what this guy's voice might sound like.
You know, I never really thought of that. Like, it's Batman, but it's crazy Batman. I'm willing to give it a shot. So it's Bruce, but Joker Toxin. And the Joker Toxin makes you laugh against your will. So I'm imagining it's Batman with the vocal inflection of the Joker, but his laugh should sound painful. So my personal stock standard for Batman, he's usually like deep, a little bit of a growl. Think like, "You've eaten well. You've eaten Gotham's wealth. But from this point on, none of you are safe." Something like that. My voice is a little bit too high for Batman, and I usually use way too much gravel, but still. And then Joker's like, "Ooh, Batsy!" He's like a performative smoker with really high highs and really low lows, but a lot of gravel. So I imagine the Batman who laughs is probably something like, "But you know I'm something twisted and wrong, and that terrifies you." That's my take, at least. So I'll watch Panda pretend he's a voice actor for a minute, yay. So you think Thor's hammer Mjolnir's hot shit because only the worthy can pick it up? Please, Superman's house key weighs 500,000 tons. Just imagine this situation for me. Oh, shit, I need to run to the bugle, but I need to go back to the Fortress of Solitude and let Crypto out. Oh, don't worry, homie, I got you. Oh, shit, man, you're the best. Here's the key. Yeah, man, no problem. Oh, shit, I forgot! Get this thing the fuck off of my hand before it turns it into a panini. Do you mean a panini? No! I get it, you're making a joke as palm panini. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Oh! Shit, right.
2 hours later, your kidnapper returns you because you don't stop talking about what?
See, it's not the same thing as the Ultimates, though, okay? The Ultimates is a completely different universe. Marvel decided to take all of their characters and put them in a completely different universe and change around all of their backstories. That is completely different. Those are basically original characters that share similar traits. When DC did it, when DC fucking did it, they decided to reboot the entire fucking universe. They decided to change everything. Everybody's backstories, everybody's history, and it wasn't the same as all of the other crises because when those happened, they slightly altered characters, but still said that those backstories, yeah, they're basically still the same. DC decided to completely rewrite stories to the fact that they didn't even fucking happen anymore, and then didn't tell the people which stories were canon and which weren't anymore. That resulted in characters being completely different. Did you see what the fuck they did to Lobo? They turned that motherfucker into a Hot Topic model. It's absolutely insane. I cannot get behind it. No matter what the fuck anybody says, it's completely fucking ridiculous. It is not the goddamn same thing as the Ultimates. At least give me an ultimatum level event to end at all. I just saw a clip from Injustice 2, and it got me thinking. I don't know if this counts as a hot take or not, but I have opinions on how the Flash perceives reality, or at least how he should. To explain it, I kind of have to explain how I see superpowers. In my mind, there are active superpowers and there are passive superpowers. Active ones are ones that you have to engage, think flying or the Human Torch's fire, while passive ones are ones that are always there, like Wolverine's healing factor and Superman's super strength. You see, in my mind, the Flash's speed is a passive superpower, just one that he can push even farther farther with the Speed Force and his own abilities. So like he would always be working at super speed, he would just be slowing everything down so that everyone else would be able to perceive it around him. Like he's directly stated in the past that he perceives things that happen in less than an attasecond. That is 0.0000000000000000001 seconds. And personally, I like to think that that's just how he perceives everything, always. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments. So I don't think it's a particularly controversial take to say that The Dark Knight Returns, pretty popular book. Kind of a defining moment in Batman and just generally in comics history. And its dark and serious tone basically kickstarted the 90s era of comic books where everyone just got darker and grittier by the day. But I don't think that people really realize the amount of dumb and silly shit that happens in the book. Like, let's just start with one of the obvious things. Batman is an old man, but somehow Alfred is still alive. Motherfucker just refuses to die and then dies at the last possible second. Fucking Wayne Manor was this old man's Horcrux or some shit. Or how about the fact that Batman shaves Bruce Wayne's mustache while he's unconscious and he doesn't fucking remember it? Because that's a fucking thing. Or what about the fact that he takes on Carrie Kelly just cause she's there? Like she's just some fucking teenager that he picks up because she helped him into his car. Or what about the fact that someone like, I don't know, the Joker just says that I'm fine now and the first thing they do is put him in front of a crowd of people. Just saying. Alright, I have a really petty movie critique. Just as a clarification, this means nothing, this is nothing, it's such a small detail that it means absolutely nothing. But can I have a Batman with blue eyes again? Don't get me wrong, all of the actors who've played Bruce Wayne are pretty fucking great, save George Clooney's. His was pretty shit. But all of them have been pretty goddamn good, and the last one to have blue eyes was Val Kilmer. And I wouldn't be annoyed if Bruce Wayne wasn't drawn like this, or like this. Like, think about this image. It is nighttime, the moon is making everything in this scene glow slightly blue, and the brightest blue in the scene are this man's fucking eyes! Like, this man's eyes should be able to cut you with a glance. And while we're on the subject, can we get a blonde Barry Allen, for fuck's sake? There's like 6 prominent blonde superheroes, and he has yet to be blonde in live action. Just ignore me. This is petty and meaningless.